If you judge yourself or feel judged for having negative emotions, this video is for you. Hey everyone, if you've been to my channel before, welcome back. If you are new to watching my videos, my name is Ross and I'm an intuitive counselor. And today's video is about negative emotions. And this video is kind of inspired by a learning module that we used to do at the treatment center that I worked at, and it was called Negative Emotions. And I would always start by sharing my 2 cents about the title. And I just want to start by saying that I really believe that emotions in and of themselves are not negative. We are here as spiritual beings having this human experience, and I think part of it is that we're here to experience all of those emotions and all of those feelings. And that's part of the richness of being human, is that we have this wide range of feelings and emotions that we can have access to. And I just want to quickly point to a great reference or a great resource that can help kind of map this out. And it's a website called Feelings with an S, so Feelings with an S, wheel.com. And if you go to that website, you'll see this wheel of feelings, and it kind of starts in the middle with the core emotions and then branches out into all the related emotions to its core emotions. And it is really helpful because it not only shows you the range of emotions that we have access to, but it also kind of shows you the opposite. So you can kind of see that, what is the opposite feeling to anger? What is on the other side? So you get to see both the positive and the, perceived negative. So that's a great resource if you want to check that out. The other thing I want to say is that to put this negative emotions piece into context is it's not that emotions are negative, it's the way that we express the emotion that can be perceived as negative. So in other words, we can use anger in an assertive way. And if you watch my videos on sacred anger, can anger be sacred recently, you would have seen what I have to say about that. And the thing is, we can have an impact on others with our anger, and that's the piece that can be perceived as negative. However, we can be assertive with our anger and create change. And that's not a negative way of expressing emotion. So just really tapping into this piece around how the emotion is expressed. And I think I also did a video on our emotional wake, which would say a lot about what I'm trying to say right now. So what I'd like to say is that we tend to go to extremes. And so when we were growing up, we likely had an experience with our caregivers of witnessing different emotions. And if we had an experience that we perceived being negative, so if I think of my own life, I grew up in a situation where my dad was quite angry, especially when he was drinking, and he would get very loud and obnoxious. And what happened was that I kind of made this vow with myself of like, I will never be that. And so I went to the other side of that. And I said that I was going to be nice. And I created this pendulum swing. And that is what we do. We tend to go to either we go to the same behavior, in other words, we repeat what we witnessed and what was modeled to us, or we swing the pendulum to the other side and we go to the other extreme. And inevitably what happens though, and this is what would occur in my life, is that the anger under the surface was still there for me, and so it would still come out sideways. I had this story of being nice and that I wasn't angry, but actually I was, and it would come out in all sorts of ways, and it wasn't healthy. So so backing up a second, it's like when we perceive this idea of emotions being negative, then we are actually working against ourselves, because the thing is, emotions are here to help us. Emotions are here to guide us. When we are connected to our emotions, when we have a range of understanding what it is we're feeling, then we can start to understand what's going on for us. And a lot of this comes back to bringing awareness into our everyday lives. And I always like to think of emotions as a check engine light. It's like something is not right. We don't necessarily know what, but the emotions is a signal. And so if we don't have a connection or a library of emotions that we are aware of, then we don't necessarily know what's going on for us. And so emotional literacy or emotional intelligence is about becoming connected with what's going on for us and be able to label that, be able to label our feelings. And that's why that feelings wheel can be such a great resource. But the moment that we start to know and we can respond to this check engine light, we can start to take pause and be like, what is it that's going on in my life right now or in my sphere of influence that is causing me to feel this way? Is it something that happened at work? Is it something that was said to me in my relationship? Is it something that my friend, pointed to that I didn't like? And, sometimes these deeper emotions are rooted in our past even. We might be connecting to an experience that we had that is trying to be healed in the present through a reflection in someone else, which is what we call shadow work. And so there's tremendous value in emotions. And if we perceive them as being negative, then we can't really shift it because we're just continuing to suppress them in a different way by calling them negative. And so this is a really important piece because if we can embrace our emotions and if we can start to honor them and bring them into our awareness and start to do something about them, that's when we start to get to this place of balance rather than that pendulum swing. And when we're in that place of balance, we're not scared of our emotions. We're just in relationship with them and we honor them and respect them. And we respect the impact that we can have with those emotions on others as well. And I guess the last thing I want to say is that we come by this honestly. Like if I think of my own childhood and some of the things I experienced, a lot of it came to do with like how I was parented and how I was perceived. In other words, if I think of don't be angry in public, don't cry in public, don't be so sensitive, don't be so insert what your story was. And what happens is that our caregivers can give us this mixed up message around our emotions and when it's okay and when it's not okay and all the conditions that go around it. And yet, if you think of a baby or a toddler, and when they're expressing their emotions, it's like we don't judge it. We don't judge that a baby is crying when they're hungry. We know that they need hunger or connection or a diaper change. It's really that simple. But we don't judge it as being negative. And so we might have a negative experience of it, how we feel about that experience, or it might impact us because we've been up all night or something. But inherently, the baby knows that he or she is trying to reach out for what it needs. And so that is a conflicting message that we may have gotten in our lives that creates this conflict around emotions. So I think I'll leave it there. As always, just trying to give some food for thought and different ways of looking at a different topic. And I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, you can like it. If you know anybody who might benefit from this message, please feel free to share it with them. If you have a topic that you would like me to cover in a future video, please send me a message or indicate that in the comments, and I'd be happy to respond to that request. And if you're interested in the work that I do as an intuitive counselor, you can go to my website. The link is in the description. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next time. Sending you unconditional love.